Are you tired of the non-stop hustle and grind? Welcome to Life in Business, the podcast for business owners who want success without sacrificing life. I'm Libby Langley, your host, award-winning no BS straight-talking business coach, Amazon best-selling author, and the queen of easy business. Join me to learn simple and practical strategies for growing your business, your profits, and your confidence, and for having fun too. Here's this week's episode. Hello, this is Life in Business and I'm your host, Libby Langley. Today, I'm going to talk to you about doing less and having more. It's the dream, right? I mean, it's also the subtitle of my book, Life in Business, How to Work Less, Earn More and Embrace True Happiness. I'm a big advocate for doing less and having more. And it's not like, I don't know. There's no magic to it, right? I wish there was. There's no magic to it. But what I'm going to do today is talk to you about some tools, tricks, strategies that you can implement in order to kind of give yourself this breathing space, right? That we all need, and the opportunity to make more money. Because that's kind of really what it boils down to, isn't it? I mean, that's what we all want from business. One of the reasons we're in business is to have total freedom of time and to have financial freedom. You know, that's the dream that everybody wants. I've worked with, I don't know, like 6,500 people, and I've never met anyone yet who doesn't want those things. So it's absolutely kind of my raison d'etre as a business coach, to support people to get that. And it's relative too, right? What doing less means to you will be different to what doing less means to me. And having more will mean something different to you than it does to me. So all of this is relative, right? I don't believe that you can kind of sell a formula or sell a one-size-fits-all program or blooming PDF or something that kind of gives everybody the same level of result, because we all start from different places. We all start from different standpoints, and therefore our results will be different, but also our lives are so different. You know, some people have very, very minimal outgoings, therefore to absolutely transform their lives will take less than someone who's got a massive mortgage and, I don't know, 3 expensive children and all that. You see, it just, there's kind of there's no comparison. There's no way to compare. And that's why the clients that I work with, when I work with clients, it is all entirely right. What do you want? What do you need? Not, here, let me tell you this thing that's going to make a difference to you, because it might not, right? It might not. You can't kind of teach a structure. Everything, I believe, that everything has to be bespoke when you're giving coaching, because we are all bespoke, right? We are all unique. We are all different. So do less, have more. There's a tendency in the entrepreneurial world these days, and bear in mind, I've been in this world, well, as a self-employed person, as a business owner since 2011, but I was working with businesses in the online space and teaching social media to people since 2009. It's a long time, it's 15 years, right? It's a long time in the online world and in the online space. And there's been an awful lot of change in that time, phenomenal amount of change. And I would say that those of us that were early adopters have perhaps noticed it. I've certainly noticed it a lot more. Kind of a bit more cynical about stuff now, and you can see people doing things. It's like, yeah, so that worked in 2014, but probably going to be a bit tough to do now. And the danger is that there is so much choice out there in the online world of things you can add in, that you add everything in, right? And certainly in my business, when I first started out, 2011, when I first started out, I had a really, really simple business structure in terms of kind of the marketing. I was really active on Twitter, which was fantastic in those days. It was a great space and place to be. Easy to meet local connections, easy to kind of connect with other business owners. Yeah, fantastic. Great conversations and all of that. So Twitter was kind of really instrumental to me, and also in-person networking. I've always done a lot of that. And I'd done a lot before. I've been doing it for 20 odd years. But before I started my business, I'd done a lot of in-person networking with my job. And so it was very easy for just kind of continue that when I started up on my own. It's a real natural transition. And it's been the thing consistently over the years that's brought me clients, that's brought me work. And I think that being in the room with people and having actual conversations with people, old school, there's something really, really valuable about that. It used to be because that was kind of like one of the only ways, right? But now I think there's a real value to it because we're also quick to automate everything, that we perhaps lose that personalization, the conversation, the touch. I don't mean that in a creepy way, but kind of like human interaction. And so that's always been something that's worked for me. And I do still do, I go to a couple of networking meetings every month. It is still something that I do. And, that's a really, really simple marketing structure, right? You find the right groups for you. There's lots of online ones now that are good too. So you find the right networking group for you. You get to know people. You tell them what they do. They work with you or they don't work with you, right? It's the simplest kind of marketing structure that there possibly is. You don't even need social media, right, into that mix. I mean, obviously, if you're selling something that's like £50, you'd need to do a lot of networking and meet a lot of people in order to make any money from that. But assuming that you're selling something that is 500,000, 2,000, something like that, or over the lifetime of the client, not necessarily in one go, then, that's kind of a perfectly viable strategy. And it's really interesting that sounds not enough these days. And I think it's because we know there's lots more out there. We know that there's so much out there that we could be doing. So we need to be doing it all. And it's like, yeah, but do we? If something really simple works and brings in the money and fills the client book and makes you happy, kind of enjoy it, then why isn't that enough? Yeah. Why do we look for more? And that's the question that I put to you really is, if you strip everything out, what actually is working for you and what actually do you enjoy doing? And that's the path to follow, right? And who cares if it's not fancy? It doesn't matter. It's got to work. It's got to be sustainable, right? Those are kind of the two things that matter. So that's a really simple, like old school marketing strategy, structure, funnel. And then there's also just the simplest of online ones. So you talk about something repeatedly on social media, such as a freebie, free masterclass, free download, free quiz, free something, right? And you get people into it, and then you offer them a call, a discovery call, a sales call, whatever you call it, and then they join your program, they work with you one-to-one, they buy your services. Again, really, really simple, right? And what is wrong with that? Nothing is wrong with that. That's what's kind of so interesting about this. It's an absolutely foolproof marketing funnel, right? Without 450 other options, yeah? You can have a very simple email funnel in there. I'm going through a lot of changes in my business right now, and a few months ago, 4 or 5 months ago, I made the decision to transition away from one-to-one work. And whilst I haven't really taken on any new one-to-one clients, I kind of have worked with a few people one-to-one, and I have some existing clients who I adore. So my transition away from that hasn't been as speedy as I kind of thought it might be in my head. And the reason that I wanted to transition away from so much one-to-one is not because I don't like it, because I love working with these clients in the moment, but it's because of this need to do less, right? I need to have fewer Zoom calls in my diary because it is kind of burnout heavy for me. It's not a good place for me to be. And whilst I enjoy it in the moment, it's like not having days where they're completely free, I find absolutely exhausting. And I'm also in a program. I joined a program to support me in my business growth, and that has a lot of Zoom calls in it, right? So the kind of need to free up time has become more crucial for me to get things out of my diary. So I need to do less, right? And it's becoming imperative that I do it. It was when I decided this kind of towards the end of 2023, it was because I knew I wanted to kind of make a bit of a shift in my business. But now it's like something has to change or I will break. And that's not a good position to be in your business. But recognizing it and being able to make the change is kind of part of it. So to have more time is really, really important to me, because fewer things in my diary mean that I am able to actually do more good, have more impact, have better ideas for for my podcast, or create new stuff for people, or just have time to think and breathe. Okay, that's so important as a business owner, that you have that headspace. So what I've done in my business to create this is I've basically taken everything that I've learned over the years and everything I've worked with on my one-to-one clients and brought it together into a group program and called Confidence to Grow. It's a lifetime access program, which people will generally kind of see their big transformation within about 6 months, but it's a lifetime access program, and it's giving people all the foundations, all the confidence, all the structure, all the skills, all the money management, all the everything that you need in order to be able to confidently grow a business, right? Lots of mindset set work. And like I say, it's a culmination of all the work that I've done with my clients one-to-one over many years. And for me, what's really important in my business is the impact. It's really, really important that I have an impact on the world at large and with individual business owners. And with doing this one-to-one, it's very, very difficult for me to do it at scale. It's limiting. There was only so many people I could work with one-to-one because of the time, right? Because of the time in the diary. So I was shifting all that away, and there are 2 calls a week in my Confidence to Grow program. And so in time, as everything else gets phased out, and in theory, I will only have 2 Zoom calls a week, right? Along with the kind of discovery calls about the program and that kind of stuff. But essentially, my diary will run around 2 calls a week, which will be pivotally important. So this will give more time, but it will also increase the impact, right? Which is what matters to me, because I'll be able to support more people at once. And that really, really, really matters. So if you kind of think about your business, it's like, what needs to shift in your business in order for you to be able to have more headspace, prevent kind of the possible onset of burnout, and to be able to do what you want to do to achieve your mission and your own personal financial and life goals within your business. There might be something that needs to shift, and this time creation is pivotal to that, right? It's just so instrumental to that. It's so important that you look at what you're spending time on, whether it's helping you to move forward or whether it's kind of just stuff that ends up getting put in the diary. Do you know what I mean? There's lots of things like that, right? So if you have one core offer that you talk about constantly, mine is now my Confidence to Grow program. You're going to get really sick of hearing about that. And if you talk about it constantly, it minimizes the amount of Zoom calls that you do, therefore minimizes the amount of time. And you can have such a simple funnel to it, right? If you've just got one thing. So you could do Facebook ads to a freebie, to your email list, to then, do you want to talk to me about joining my program? Really simple. Or you could do social media to a freebie, to an email list, do you want to talk to me about my program? Do you want to join my program? Yeah. It's the simplest of simple, and it works. You don't need to have 10 different freebies, 4 different types of calls, and a paid for intro session that then leads to something else. You don't need to do all this stuff. You can cut everything out and just go back to the simple stuff. And it works, right? It works. The thing is with kind of these days is that, it used to be you could run free masterclasses, right? And I used to run free masterclasses that were automated through, what was it called? EverWebinar. And so you could join, you could book onto the next call. It was all pre-recorded, right? You could book onto the next call, which funnily enough was in 15 minutes time or something like that. And oh my goodness me, I'm like, I cringe now. And I still see people doing it now. And I'm like, man alive, does anyone believe that this is live anymore? Yeah, it was kind of an ugly time in the online marketing world, I think. But how long ago was this? 2020, 2019? 2019, probably. And so, but it worked. It worked then. People would sign up for your free, live webinar. And that would be useful information with a sales pitch. They would then book on a call or something like that and then join your program or sign up to work with you one-to-one or not, right? But we know that this is a trick now. We know there's a level of smoke and mirrors about it. And I am just kind of quite uncomfortable with that now. I have a pre-recorded webinar and say, this is a pre-recorded webinar, but it's really good. So you can watch this. But it's the kind of lying about stuff and this false scarcity and these timers that, you've only got 15 minutes. It's like, no, you haven't, So it just, I think that being honest and true about it will not only give you more time because you haven't got as many things to build behind the scenes. There isn't as much tech to do. So that's massively important. And also it feels more aligned with honesty and truth and integrity, which is really important to me in business for sure. And something I always encourage my clients to have in their business. Yeah, I can teach you all this other stuff, but it's like, we don't want to do that, do we? But minimizing the amount of layers in the online marketing funnel means considerably less work because there's less to go wrong, right? If you change a link, you don't have to remember which of 53 different systems and programs that all talk to each other. You've got to change it in. So simple, honestly, is absolutely better. Absolutely better. And then more money. We want more time. We want more money. And so more money starts again with the absolutely simple and basic task of minimizing kind of your outgoings, right? And by that, I don't mean being frugal with your business because that's a whole different issue, right? But what I mean is spending wisely and spending consciously. That's very important. So subscriptions that you've got for things that you're not using, cancel them, right? I mean, recently I've cancelled a couple of things. One is LinkedIn Premium. And that's an interesting one, that, because I used to have it. I've been on LinkedIn since, 2009? 2009? Yeah, 2009, probably. 2008? Don't know. Ages anyway. And I used to have premium. It used to be like 85 quid a year, okay, something like that. And I used to have premium because I used to like all the stats that it gave you. So that was who's viewed your profile and all that stuff. And that seemed like a worthwhile investment for me for how I used it at the time. And then for years, I didn't pay for it. And recently, I decided to subscribe again because of the limit on searches that you get in the free account. I think you only get 3 a month on the free account. You can have limitless if you pay, right? And I wasn't being as proactive as I thought I would be, all good intentions and all that, but too many Zoom calls, don't have time to do all that, or don't have headspace to do all that. And so it's £55 a month now, which is, it's not a lot of money in the grand scheme of things, right? Of course it's not. However, if you're not utilising it, it's like, is it worth 600 quid a year? 700 quid a year? Maybe not, So I cancelled it, right? So that's immediately made me a bit more money, made me an extra £55 a month. But that's just one example. And something else, I signed up for an AI membership that teaches you about all these super cool AI tools. And it's just incredible. However, I have never logged into it because don't have the time, don't have the headspace to do it, right? And also, I don't know if I need to know it. I'm really interested in it, but I don't. And it's just like something has to give and something has to go. And actually, being in programs or subscribing to things that you don't use takes up headspace because you're kind of conscious that you're not doing it. And so it's an interesting balance that. So the AI thing, it's only £15 a month. It really is not expensive at all. But I've cancelled it because it's just another thing that it takes away a layer of guilt, right? But it gives me slightly more money and quite a lot of extra headspace. And I may come back to it because it's superb, right? I'm just not using it. So to have more money, if you cancel subscriptions you're not using, if you look at your outgoings and choose to invest in them wisely, and then instead of buying lots of quick fix programs and, the one size fits all, follow this and you'll get 10,000 extra followers on Instagram. Not necessarily you won't, because we all come from a different standpoint. Invest in one mentor, one coach, one person who's going to be able to help you, one community that is going to give you the kind of network that you need. Make your choice about what's going to really, really help you. And, and if that's me, then yay, come join my Confidence to Grow program. But find what works for you, right? And make that conscious choice to invest in something. Because honestly, being in the right place with the right person is going to make such a difference to your business. And it's the kind of thing where you can use that space to talk about all these things. And it's like, right, I feel massively overwhelmed. Why do I feel overwhelmed? Let me talk to that person and they'll be able to help me and they'll be able to make suggestions as to what gives, because it's not always that you need to burn your business to the ground. It's not always that you need to give up your business and go get a job. It's rarely that, right? It's that you're adding too many things in, or you feel like you need to add more in rather than just scaling what you've already got. And so that's where the pressure comes. And a lot of it comes from, it comes from social media. All this stuff is available. We see so-and-so doing this, that, and the other. And we see someone else doing that, and that. And it's like, we should do that. And it's like, why? Why should we do that? We don't need to. If going to a couple of 2, 3, 4, 5 networking meetings a month brings you the clients that you want and you enjoy it, then that is a really constructive use of your time and a good business model. And it doesn't need to be any different if you don't want it to be, right? Some people would say to you, well, you need to take it all in line. It's a lot of time to go to a networking meeting. Yeah, but if it brings you clients and you enjoy it, do more of it. You see, there's nothing wrong with the kind of old school in-person conversations, right? And that's why I've been running these mastermind days to 2024, because sometimes being in a room with people is just great, so having that conscious choice of how you market your business and what it actually brings into you is just so important. So what I would invite you to do is to think about what doing less and having more means to you, right? And then go through the exercise that I've been through recently. And it's like, right, what is causing this feeling of, and, for me particularly, it's Zoom calls, it's stuff in my diary, right? So what can I do to change that? And what is the simplest and quickest way to kind of make that shift? But you have to do a bit of self-analysis, and you have to reflect, and you have to go back to the basics, back to the foundations of your business. Like, why are you in business? What's your mission? What's your mission for kind of changing the world? What's your vision for what you want your life to be like? What really matters to you? What is it? What impact is it that you want to have on the world? And the changes that you make, look at where you are now, right? Look at where you are now. Look at what you're doing too much of, what feels too much, and where you're not making enough money. And then reflect that back on these foundations, these fundamentals of business. And what you stand for, what it is that you need, and see where there's a disconnect, because there will be a disconnect. It is so easy for us to just fill up our diaries with stuff, to fill up our time with stuff, I'll just learn about this and I'll just do this. And it's like, you don't need to, note to self, Libby, you don't need to do all these things. You don't need to learn all the stuff, You're really good at what you do. You're good at coaching people. Just focus on coaching people. Focus on changing people's lives. Focus on changing people's businesses. You don't need to learn anything else, because that takes up time and energy and headspace. And this is what we want. We want more. Want more of, right? What we really want. And I'm betting some nice sweet money on the fact that what you want is you want time freedom and you want financial freedom. And that's kind of it in a nutshell for what you want out of life, right? Like I say, different levels, however, same theory, right? It's what we all dream of. And what I've talked about today is some really, really simple, almost sounds too simple, sounds too good to be true, but it's not. It works, right? It's just taking stuff out. Be that actual things like Zoom calls. Do you really need to have that Zoom call? Maybe not. Could it be an email? Yeah, maybe. Or can it just go completely? Quite possibly. Is it going to get you where you want to go? This is the question to ask yourself, right? So say no to more things. I'm going to say that again. Say no to more things, right? It's really important. I'll say it for the third time. Say no to more things. And that will give you more time and more money to be able to say yes to the things that really, really matter to you. Okay. So, hopefully you're immediately writing a list of everything and doing lots of analysis now on what you can change in your life. But let me know. Message me on Instagram at Libby Langley, or find me on LinkedIn, search for Libby Langley, and let me know. Yeah, I'd love to. I always really, really love to hear from people who've listened to this podcast too. I know there's a few of you email me quite regularly, which is just fab, just telling me what you've learned and about yourself and what it's kind of sparked for you. But it's great. It means the world to me, genuinely, when I hear from people. So please keep doing more of that. And I'm going to see you next week for another episode of Life in Business with me, Libby Langley. Thanks ever so much for joining me. Lots of love. Thank you for listening to Life in Business. Please make sure that you subscribe or follow so you don't miss any future episodes. And if you enjoyed today's show, please leave a review, as it helps others to find the podcast and spread the word that there's an easier way to do business. If you want to chat with me about today's episode or suggest a topic for the future, I would love to hear from you. You can find me on Instagram at Libby Langley. See you next week.